UN 영어뉴스 슈퍼히어로 films is this the end of the road? A combination of green headlines and poor box office numbers means that the colossal success of the superhero franchises could be a thing of the past, writes Nicholas Barber. Superhero films aren't looking too super. Jonathan Majors, the American actor, was arrested last weekend and has since been charged with assault, and although his representatives have declared that he is innocent, the U.S. Army has temporarily shelved the recruitment adverts in which he appeared. That puts the Disney-owned Marvel Studios in an awkward position. Majors plays Kang, the Conqueror, who wasn't just the villain in the recent Ant-Man film, but is meant to be the main baddie in the next wave of Marvel blockbusters. Should he keep the role? And what about Ezra Miller? They were charged with a series of crimes occurring last spring and summer, but have the title role in This Is the Flash, which is due out in June. Are viewers supposed to forget about the green headlines and pretend that everything is fine? Obviously, there are more important things to consider than box office takings regarding these allegations, and the two actors' alleged behavior has nothing to do with the films they are in or the studios that make them, but they do deepen the impression that superhero cinema is not what it was, that some kind of kryptonite is sapping the strength of a genre that once seemed unstoppable and indestructible. So far, this year's two superhero releases, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania and Shazam, Fury of the Gods, have both underperformed at the box office and received grossing reviews 47% and 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, respectively. Nor did this decline and fall start with them. An article published by Screen Rant on 1 January was headlined 2022 was the year superhero movies lost their box office dominance. It was the year when This Is Black Adam bombed despite starring Hollywood's highest earner, Dwayne Johnson, and the year when Sony's Morbius became a social media joke, bombarded by mocking memes, and going on to win 2 Golden Raspberry Awards if you compare them with the year's 2 biggest hits, Top Gun Maverick and Avatar The Way of Water. They look like scrappy derivative B movies rather than the mighty tentpoles we have come to expect. Ezra Miller's controversial personal life has cast a shadow over the title role in The Flash, which is released this summer. What went wrong? Well, to answer that question, it helps to remember what went right. Superhero films had been hits before, but they became a phenomenon in 2008 when The Dark Knight topped the annual box office chart and Iron Man was in second place. Despite that ranking, it was Iron Man that was the game changer because it launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe under the sharp eye of Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios president. The company kept introducing fresh, fun, charismatic new versions of classic Marvel Comics characters such as Thor and Captain America. One by one, these characters crossed over into each other's films, so that each individual mega-budget spectacular also functioned as an episode in an ever-growing epic. Audiences were hooked. Seeing this success, other Hollywood studios realized that they still held the rights to a handful of other characters from Marvel Comics, and that it was time to get those characters back on the screen. 20th Century Fox revived its X-Men franchise and tried to revive the Fantastic Four. Sony rebooted Spider-Man just a few years after Tobey Maguire had hung up his red and blue spandex suit. Meanwhile, Warner Bros. Had the rights to the characters published by Marvel's rivals, DC Comics, so they set about establishing their own shared universe featuring Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. Cinemas were packed with the superheroes. Perhaps the genre was overvalued because Marvel was doing so well, even during the gold rush years of the 2010s. There were plenty of superhero films, such as Fantastic Four and Green Lantern. Anyone remember that? Which took commercial and or critical drubbings, but in general, comic book blockbusters seemed to be soaring to ever greater heights of popularity. Peaking with the starburst of Marvel's Avengers Infinity War 2018 and Avengers Endgame 2019. These films brought all of the MCU's many characters together, concluded its decade-long overarching narrative, snuffed out and restored half of the universe's population, and wrote out two fan favorites, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, and Chris Evans' Captain America. They made billions of dollars, but how could the company possibly follow them? No one at Marvel seemed to know. Running out of steam. One factor is that the COVID-19 pandemic slowed momentum, closing cinemas a year after Avengers Endgame was released. And how could any made-up global threat compete with that real one? But another factor is that the next MCU films, those in its so-called Phase 4, were enervated, and purposeless. The hangover after the wild party the night before, with the wrapping up of the company's cosmic infinity saga, and the retirement of its most glamorous stars, the familiar nature of its films became all too obvious. Black Widow 2021 was essentially one long flashback focusing on a character who had been killed off in Avengers Endgame. The dreary Eternals 2021 proved that Chloe Zhao, fresh from her Oscar win for a low-key documentary-style drama, Nomadland, probably shouldn't direct effects-heavy blockbusters. Thor: Love and Thunder 2022 was an inferior rehash of Thor Ragnarok. Black Panther Wakanda Forever 2022 had to make do without its titular hero. Following the death of the man who played him, Chadwick Boseman, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings 2021 innovated by incorporating so much Chinese culture, but it still followed a template that had been used too many times. A sequel is reportedly in development, but no release date has been announced. This year's superhero releases, including Shazam! Fury of the Gods, have underperformed at the box office. The MCU had been revolutionary because up until Avengers Endgame, you had to see every film in it to fully appreciate all of the others, but now you could skip them without missing anything in particular. In fact, the films felt less important than WandaVision, Loki, and the rest of the Marvel television series on Disney Plus. And if the most interesting superhero action is on TV, why bother paying to see its poor relation at the cinema? Not that this was just a Marvel problem. Every superhero franchise is now weighed down with the baggage of earlier films, so a genre that used to be above the exhilarating thrill of forward motion is no longer going anywhere fast. For the viewer, it's getting difficult to remember who is in the Avengers, who is playing the Joker, whether Wolverine is alive or dead, and whether Venom is in Sony's Spider-Man universe or the Marvel Cinematic Universe or some other universe altogether. Superhero films now seem to have more of a past than a future. They are exhausted, and so are their viewers. It's not all bad news. Spider-Man: The Way Home was the highest grossing film of 2021, and a new Spider-Man film is out in June. One issue is that the studios are simply running out of beloved characters. It's true that several actors have played Superman over the last 2 decades, but Iron Man and Captain America are so closely associated with Downey and Evans, the actors who made the parts their own, that it wouldn't work to recast them now. So who are we left with? Who are we left with? Marvel Studios is reaching the bottom of the barrel with the Marvels and Thunderbolts, while Sony is planning films around such Spider-Man B-listers as Kraven the Hunter and Madame Web. Maybe Marvel and DC Comics want the infinite resource they once promised to be, after all. Still, we shouldn't get carried away. Last year, there were 4 superhero films in the worldwide box office top 10. 5 if you include Minions, The Rise of Gru. Spider-Man: No Way Home was the highest grossing film of 2021, and I, for one, am looking forward to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in June. Beyond that, James Gunn, the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, has been given the job of relaunching This Is Superheroes with new actors and a new approach. The genre could still make a triumphant comeback, as the characters in its stories so often do. But will it ever again engender the excitement that those first Marvel films did? That really would be a superhuman feat. Believe it or not, the term superhero fatigue was already being bandied around back in 2011. In 2023, cinema goers everywhere know how it feels